At the dawn of 2025, the White House dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves through Canada. President Donald Trump revealed his plan to impose a steep 25% tariff on Canadian imports. The official reason? The administration cited concerns over border security, illegal immigration, and drug smuggling, but the announcement triggered an immediate uproar across the Canadian political, business, and public spheres. People from all walks of life were left wondering how their country should respond. While some demanded swift and tough retaliation, arguing that Canada could not afford to sit back as its largest trading partner flexed its muscles, others cautioned that escalating tensions might hurt the very businesses and workers they sought to protect. The complexity of the situation made the debate far from straightforward. The key question echoed throughout the nation. How would Canada respond to such an unprecedented economic move? The answer came quickly from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who unequivocally stated that Canada would not take this lying down. "Everything is on the table," he warned, calling for a united front. He understood that a weak response would damage Canada's global standing, especially as the U.S. is its largest trade partner and a crucial ally in many areas. His remarks set the tone for what was sure to be a tough and decisive response. Meanwhile, Ontario Premier Doug Ford pushed the envelope further, proposing aggressive measures such as banning American liquor imports, and even contemplating drastic cuts to energy exports to states like Michigan and New York. But this is where things started to get tricky. The economies of the U.S. and Canada are deeply entwined, and pulling the wrong lever could trigger widespread economic disruptions. A significant portion of American refineries, especially in the Midwest and Rocky Mountain regions, rely on heavy crude oil from Canada. Should Canada decide to tighten its oil supply, gas prices in the U.S. could skyrocket, and oil-rich provinces in Canada could find themselves in a serious economic bind. But as dramatic as the U.S.-Canada energy situation was, it wasn't the only energy drama on the world stage. Far across the Pacific, China had been undergoing a monumental shift in its energy strategy, and the implications of this change were being felt globally. One of the most significant changes in 2025 was a dramatic decline in U.S. crude exports to China. U.S. oil exports to China dropped sharply from 115.6 million barrels in 2024 to just 81.9 million barrels in 2025. This decline was attributed to a mixture of factors: China's slowing economy, a push for renewable energy, and an increasing preference for oil from Russia and Iran, which offered a compelling alternative to American crude. In retaliation for U.S. tariffs, China imposed its own set of penalties. Beginning February 10, 2025, U.S. crude oil would be subject to a 10% tariff, while liquefied natural gas, LNG, and coal would face a 15% tariff. This move marked a seismic shift in global energy politics. Once the second-largest importer of U.S. oil, China had now slipped to the sixth spot in just a few short years. What initially seemed like a small shuffle in the global oil market was, in reality, a major realignment that would have lasting implications for the global flow of energy. But the story doesn't end there. Despite China's decreasing oil imports, its energy strategy has become increasingly focused on diversifying its sources. Instead of continuing to rely on traditional Western suppliers, China has turned its attention to cheaper and politically isolated sources like Russia, Iran, and Venezuela. This shift is not just about cost savings. It is also a strategic move to reduce dependency on the U.S. and its allies. According to energy tracking firms like Kepler, China has been steadily increasing its imports from these sanctioned nations. A small 2% increase in imports from Iran might seem insignificant on paper, but given China's massive daily crude imports, over 10 million barrels, that increase represents a substantial volume of oil. Why this shift? It's all about securing better deals and gaining more control over its energy supply. Ever since Western sanctions hit Russia, the country has been forced to offer deep discounts on its oil. China, always eager to secure the best price, has taken full advantage, snapping up Russian Urals crude at prices well below market value. Similarly, Iran, despite facing tough U.S. sanctions, has managed to keep its oil flowing to China through complex methods, such as switching off tanker tracking systems and transferring crude to other ships at sea. What's more, these shipments aren't always what they seem. Sometimes, Iranian oil is relabeled as coming from other countries, such as Malaysia or Oman, to avoid detection. This is a common tactic used by countries like Venezuela as well. Despite ongoing sanctions, Venezuelan oil still finds its way into China through intricate third-party trades and complicated payment systems. For Chinese refineries, particularly those not under government control, this cheaper, sanctioned oil is too good an opportunity to pass up. China's energy strategy isn't just about getting cheap oil. It's about long-term energy security. By spreading its purchases across multiple suppliers, including those outside the influence of the US and Europe, China is ensuring that it's not overly dependent on any one source. This diversification strategy also brings another significant financial benefit. Buying oil at discounted prices allows Chinese refiners to operate with higher profit margins. These margins can be used to either sell fuel at lower prices domestically or flood the market with cheaper refined products, particularly in Asia. By doing so, China further strengthens its economic position in the region and beyond. Tracking these complex, often secretive oil deals is no easy task. However, energy analysts and tracking firms like Kepler and Vortex have found ways to unveil the truth. Using satellite imagery, ship tracking data, and port records, they are able to track oil tankers in real time. One of the more common tricks that companies use to disguise shipments is by going dark, where tankers simply turn off their tracking systems. Others conduct ship-to-ship transfers at sea to hide the origins of the oil. Ports in Malaysia and Oman have become key hotspots for these relabeling operations, allowing Iranian and Venezuelan crude to be disguised before reaching China. Even though Chinese customs records may not officially show these shipments coming from sanctioned nations, the increase in volumes tells a different story. It's clear that China is intentionally tapping into these cheaper, politically isolated sources to save billions of dollars and reshape the global oil market in the process. This shift in China's energy purchases is not only affecting its economy, but is also putting pressure on traditional suppliers. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Angola, and Brazil are being forced to adjust their pricing strategies to stay competitive with China's growing demand for discounted oil from Russia, Iran, and Venezuela. As these countries feel the squeeze, their own economies are being impacted, and the global balance of power in the energy sector is shifting. For Russia, China's changing oil priorities have been both a challenge and an opportunity. In the wake of Western sanctions following its invasion of Ukraine, Russia looked to China as a new and lucrative partner. Trade between the two countries surged to over $240 billion in 2023, with oil and gas making up a large portion of that number. And Russia hasn't stopped there. In 2024, China completed the Power of Siberia pipeline, giving it direct access to Russian natural gas. Discussions are already underway for the expansion of that pipeline, which would redirect gas originally intended for Europe. This shift has fundamentally altered global energy flows, with Russia now increasingly dependent on China to absorb its exports. For Beijing, securing a long-term energy supply from Russia is a critical part of its broader strategy to reduce dependence on Western-controlled markets. China's energy strategy goes beyond just securing oil and gas. It's also about building long-term strategic alliances. One example of this is China's dealings with Iran. Despite U.S. sanctions designed to cut off Iranian oil revenue, China has continued to buy Iranian crude at rock-bottom prices. This relationship has not only helped China secure affordable energy, but has also provided Iran with a financial lifeline, allowing it to fund key government programs, including military initiatives. Washington hasn't ignored this, of course. In October 2024, the U.S. introduced even harsher sanctions aimed at cutting off Iran's oil revenue. However, China has shown no signs of backing down. Instead, it has continued to find innovative ways to quietly bring in Iranian oil, often through third-party channels or by disguising shipments. Beyond oil, China is also deepening its energy ties with the UAE, and this partnership is growing at an exponential rate. By 2023, trade between China and the UAE had skyrocketed to nearly $95 billion, with non-oil goods making up the majority of that figure. But energy remains at the heart of the relationship, with the UAE's natural gas exports to China topping $4 billion. This growing energy partnership is a key part of China's broader strategy to diversify its energy sources and strengthen its economic ties with the Middle East. By 2024, China's state-owned energy giant, CNPC, struck a major deal with the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, ADNOC. This partnership focuses on exploring new oil and gas reserves, ramping up production, and expanding the trade of crude oil and liquefied natural gas, LNG. It's clear that China is looking to secure its energy future, not just by buying oil, but by embedding itself deeply into the global energy system. As China continues to evolve its energy strategy, it's also looking toward the future. The country has long been a leader in solar energy, and its exports of solar panels to the UAE are helping the region meet its clean energy targets. Investments in renewable energy are booming on both sides, with China now the UAE's largest commercial partner in the Middle East. Both nations are positioning themselves to be leaders in a more sustainable future, while simultaneously deepening their economic ties. In summary, China's changing energy dynamics are transforming the global energy market. By reducing its reliance on U.S. oil, it is not just saving money. It's also securing long-term energy stability, diversifying its suppliers, and strategically positioning itself as a dominant force in the global energy landscape. And as this shift continues to unfold, its ripple effects will be felt across the globe, from the US to Russia, the Middle East, and beyond.